Disclaimer: the information provided in this presentation is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional financial, legal, tax, or business advice. Starting, acquiring, or operating an auto repair facility involves substantial financial risk, significant personal and corporate liability, and complex, strict regulatory compliance. Historical trends, past industry performance, and the case studies discussed in this material do not dictate or indicate future potential outcomes. You must always conduct your own exhaustive due diligence before making any business decisions. Before executing a commercial lease, purchasing highly leveraged capital equipment, forming a business entity, or hiring employees, it is absolutely imperative that you consult with licensed, qualified professionals. This includes, but is not limited to, a certified public accountant to structure your chart of accounts, a corporate attorney to navigate entity formation, and a specialized commercial insurance broker to secure comprehensive garage keepers liability and workers' compensation coverage. Furthermore, the automotive repair industry is heavily regulated by local, state, and federal agencies, including the Environmental Protection Agency and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. You are solely responsible for ensuring your facility complies with all hazardous waste disposal protocols and workplace safety standards. We assume no responsibility or liability for any financial losses, legal complications, or business failures you may experience. Your specific local zoning laws, regional economic conditions, and individual management execution will heavily dictate your individual potential outcomes. The golden age of the independent mechanic is not over. In fact, we are currently standing on the precipice of the greatest market consolidation and wealth transfer in the history of the automotive service industry. If you listen to the mainstream narrative, you will hear a very bleak and highly distorted story. You will hear that independent auto repair shops are being systematically eradicated by the rapid adoption of electric vehicles, the monopolistic software practices of corporate dealerships, and the aggressive buyout strategies of private equity franchise groups. You will be told that the traditional mom-and-pop garage is a dying breed. That narrative is fundamentally flawed. The traditional auto repair shop is indeed closing its doors at a record pace, but it is not because of electric vehicles or corporate buyouts. It is dying because of catastrophic, deeply ingrained business mismanagement. Every single day across the United States, brilliant, highly capable master technicians decide to take the leap and open their own independent facilities. These are individuals who possess genius-level intellect when it comes to mechanical engineering. They can diagnose phantom multiplex wiring voltage drops in their sleep. They can rebuild complex continuous variable transmissions with their eyes closed. Yet, according to historical industry data, a staggering percentage of these highly skilled technicians will face severe financial distress or total insolvency within their first 36 months of operation. Why does this happen? Because the ability to turn wrenches and the ability to operate a highly profitable, legally compliant commercial enterprise are two completely unrelated skill sets. Let us examine a highly representative case study that perfectly illustrates this paradox. Consider a technician we will call David. David spent 18 years as the lead drivability and diagnostic technician at a major European automotive dealership. He was the highest producer in his region, and he commanded the intense loyalty of hundreds of affluent clients. In early 2024, David took his entire life savings, liquidated his retirement accounts, and secured a high-interest commercial loan backed by his personal residence to open his own independent specialty shop. He leased a massive, beautiful facility. He purchased the most expensive, state-of-the-art flush-mount lifts. He acquired every proprietary factory diagnostic scanner available on the commercial market. 14 months later, David was bankrupt, his equipment was seized by creditors, and his personal financial life was severely compromised. David did not fail because he lacked technical competency. He failed because he did not understand the aggressive nature of a triple-net commercial lease, which caused his monthly operational overhead to skyrocket unexpectedly when the property tax assessments and unexpected HVAC roof repairs were passed directly onto him by the landlord. He failed because he did not grasp the critical difference between his posted labor rate and his effective labor rate, meaning that due to poor technician efficiency and unbilled diagnostic time, he was actually losing capital on every single hour his shop was open. He failed because he lacked a structural understanding of parts margin matrices, choosing instead to apply a flat markup that eroded his gross profit. But here is the most crucial takeaway from this entire presentation. While thousands of operators like David are liquidating their assets, a small, highly strategic fraction of shop owners are currently achieving net profit margins that defy traditional small business metrics. They are intentionally stepping away from the service base, scaling their operations into multiple regional locations, and building significant, long-term commercial equity. There is a very specific underlying operational architecture to these successful businesses. There is a mathematical blueprint, and there is one specific fatal trap that 90% of first-time shop owners walk blindly into during their first 90 days of operation. If you do not know how to identify and neutralize this trap, your business is a ticking financial time bomb. In this comprehensive deep dive masterclass, we are going to completely deconstruct the business of auto repair for the economic landscape of 2026. We are going to bridge the massive, dangerous gap between technical expertise and operational mastery. If you are exhausted from generating massive profits for an absentee dealership owner, if you are planning to transition from flat-rate employee to facility owner, or if you have already opened your bay doors and are currently struggling to optimize your cash flow, this curriculum is designed explicitly for you. We are not going to rely on superficial motivational rhetoric or untested, speculative theories. Instead, we are going to rely on case studies, concrete operational data, and the precise foundational framework required to build a resilient automotive repair enterprise. We will systematically address the exact pain points that cause shop owners to fail. We will break down, step by step, the intricate financial modeling required to optimize your parts pricing matrix and calculate an effective labor rate that actually sustains your fixed and variable overhead while generating a healthy net profit. You will learn the stark, critical differences between traditional flat-rate technician compensation and modern hourly plus efficiency bonus structures, and how to attract and retain elite, top-tier technicians in a national market currently experiencing a severe labor shortage. We will thoroughly explore the often misunderstood nuances of commercial real estate acquisition. You will understand why the physical layout of your facility, the ingress and egress of your customer parking lot, the daily traffic counts, and the specific municipal zoning overlays can completely make or break your entire operation before you even sign the lease. Furthermore, we will dive deep into capital equipment acquisition strategies. You will learn how to completely avoid the deadly mistake of over-leveraging your business with brand new, rapidly depreciating assets when carefully sourced, secondary market equipment can achieve the exact same operational efficiency for a fraction of the initial capital expenditure. We will meticulously cover the specific legal and corporate entities you need to establish to shield your personal assets, including the strategic separation of your real estate holding company from your daily operating company. We will outline the exact key performance indicators or KPIs that you must monitor daily, including your car count, average repair order, and technician productivity metrics. Finally, we will detail a robust, hyperlocal customer acquisition strategy that abandons outdated, low-conversion direct mail campaigns in favor of aggressive search engine optimization and automated customer relationship management software to build a fiercely loyal, recurring client base. This is the unvarnished, data-driven reality of what it takes to succeed in this industry today. This is your comprehensive 2026 operational blueprint. Prepare to analyze these frameworks closely, because the strategies we are about to unpack are precisely what separate the struggling mechanics from the highly successful automotive business operators. The very first decision you must make before looking at real estate, securing a commercial loan, or buying a single piece of equipment is defining your exact operational identity. In the year 2026, the automotive repair landscape has fundamentally fractured. The traditional concept of opening a facility with a generic sign that simply reads auto repair and expecting to profitably service every single make and model that rolls through the bay doors is mathematically and operationally obsolete. The level of technological engineering in modern vehicles has reached an overwhelming critical mass. We are no longer just dealing with internal combustion engines and basic hydraulic brakes. We are navigating highly intricate advanced driver assistance systems, high-voltage electric vehicle architectures, and proprietary software gateways that deliberately lock aftermarket diagnostic scanners out of basic module programming functions. If you attempt to be everything to every potential customer, you will inevitably become nothing to anyone, and your business will rapidly bleed capital through massive daily inefficiencies. Imagine if you decide to open a general repair facility in suburban Dallas, Texas. You open your doors and accept absolutely every job that calls your service desk. On Bay 1, you have a 2014 Honda Accord needing a standard brake pad replacement. On Bay 2, You have a 2021 Audi Q7 with a complex fiber optic communication failure, bringing down the entire dashboard network. On bay 3, you have a 2019 Ford F-250 diesel with a catastrophic high-pressure fuel pump failure sending metal shards through the entire fuel delivery system. This scenario might sound like a highly productive, profitable day for a new business, but underneath the surface, it is a complete operational nightmare. Your technicians are constantly suffering from extreme mental fatigue by switching gears between completely different engineering philosophies. Your tooling overhead costs are astronomical because you must purchase and maintain costly annual subscriptions for domestic, Asian, and European factory diagnostic software platforms, which can easily exceed $20,000 a year just to keep your scanners updated. You are sourcing parts from 15 different local vendors, managing complex core returns across multiple platforms, and worst of all, your diagnostic time is highly inefficient because your technicians are seeing highly specific systemic failures for the very first time. You cannot accurately quote labor times to your clients, and you end up absorbing hours of unbilled diagnostic labor, simply trying to decipher how a specific German manufacturer routes their CAN bus wiring harness. Now, let us analyze a highly strategic alternative by looking at a specific case study. Consider an entrepreneur named Marcus who launched his independent auto repair facility in Atlanta, Georgia in early 2026. Instead of a high-volume generalist approach, Marcus strategically opened a facility strictly dedicated to European vehicles, specifically targeting late-model BMW and Mercedes-Benz platforms. By severely narrowing his market focus, Marcus instantly optimized his entire business model. He only needs to purchase, update, and master 2 primary factory diagnostic systems. His technicians are not wasting valuable billable hours reading generic wiring diagrams because they diagnose the exact same oil filter housing leaks and the exact same air suspension compressor failures every single week. They naturally develop a specialized rhythm. They engineer custom tooling to shave hours off standardized industry book times. Because they operate with such high, predictable efficiency, Marcus is able to implement an aggressive parts pricing matrix and command a premium market labor rate. Historical trends consistently demonstrate that specialty repair shops frequently command a 20 to 30% higher effective labor rate than general repair shops operating within the exact same zip code. Potential outcomes heavily favor the specialist because clients are entirely willing to pay a premium when they perceive they are dealing with an absolute, undeniable authority on their specific vehicle investment. Furthermore, intimately understanding the macroeconomic automotive climate of 2026 is critical to formulating your business plan. The average age of light vehicles on United States roads has officially pushed past 13.5 years. This is an unprecedented historical metric for the transportation industry. New vehicle prices remain prohibitively high for the average middle-class consumer, and while automotive interest rates are stabilizing, financing a new vehicle remains a massive monthly financial burden. Therefore, consumers are heavily incentivized to repair and meticulously maintain their aging fleet, rather than trade them into dealerships. This economic reality creates a massive, highly lucrative sweet spot for independent repair shops, specifically targeting vehicles that have just exited their factory warranty period, but are still highly valued by their owners. These are the specific vehicles requiring high-ticket maintenance items like timing chain replacements, comprehensive suspension overhauls, and complex emission system rehabilitations. By strategically positioning your shop as a niche specialist, you naturally attract an affluent clientele who are financially invested in the long-term health of their vehicles, rather than transient, price-shopping customers looking for the absolute cheapest synthetic oil change in town. This positioning directly impacts your most vital key performance indicator, the average repair order. A general repair shop relying on heavy car volume might severely struggle to maintain an average repair order of $400. They need a massive daily car count, a massive commercial parking lot, and a chaotic front office just to break even on their fixed monthly expenses. A specialty shop, however, can systematically maintain an average repair order well north of $1,200. Marcus, our European specialist operating in Atlanta, does not need 40 cars a day to achieve his gross revenue targets. He only needs 8 to 10 carefully scheduled, high-ticket appointments. This dramatically reduces the daily operational stress on his service advisors, allows for meticulous, uncompromised quality control by his technicians, and drastically reduces the massive garage keeper's liability of having dozens of customer vehicles parked on a dark lot overnight waiting for obscure parts to arrive. Your specialized identity also heavily dictates your entire supply chain logistics. When you focus intensely on a specific niche, you build deep, high-volume, highly prioritized relationships with a select few specialized wholesale parts distributors. You gain exclusive access to premium-tiered pricing structures that general shops simply never reach because their purchasing power is spread far too thin across dozens of generic vendors. You learn exactly which aftermarket component brands are reliable and which ones will inevitably result in a costly warranty comeback. In the automotive repair industry, a comeback is the ultimate profit destroyer. It immediately consumes an active service bay, frustrates your technician who is working for free, severely angers your client, and completely annihilates your profit margin. Specialization acts as the ultimate shield against warranty comebacks because your team knows the exact failure points of the replacement parts before they even unbox them. You must define this operational identity clearly in your 2026 business plan. Will you dominate the Asian hybrid market? Will you become the premier diesel performance and bulletproofing facility in your regional county? Will you focus entirely on high-voltage electric vehicle battery reconditioning and thermal management systems, capturing the first massive wave of out-of-warranty electric vehicles hitting the secondary market? Whatever path you choose, it must be highly deliberate. You must build your entire commercial branding, your tooling acquisition, and your technician hiring strategy around this singular, unyielding focus. The most dangerous financial decision you can make right now is attempting to compete on base price with the massive corporate franchise shops that rely entirely on low-skill labor and high-pressure service desk upselling tactics. You absolutely cannot beat private equity groups at the high-volume, low-margin game. You must elevate your service offering, build profound technical authority, and strictly target the demographic that values engineering precision over a heavily discounted price tag. However, once you have solidified your niche, built your financial projections around a premium average repair order, and secured your initial startup capital, you will face the absolute highest, most dangerous hurdle in the entire business formation process. You can have the best operational business model in the world, the most elite master technicians on your payroll, and a flawless digital marketing strategy, but none of it matters if you sign the wrong piece of paper before you even unlock your front doors. Securing a commercial facility for automotive use is notoriously difficult due to strict environmental zoning restrictions, chemical disposal laws, and municipal parking ratio requirements. Commercial landlords are acutely aware of this scarcity, and they heavily leverage this desperation against new auto shop owners. There is one specific, incredibly toxic legal clause hidden in over 80% of commercial automotive leases that has the power to legally bankrupt your business within the first 6 months, completely stripping you of your capital equipment and your personal assets. You need to know exactly what this clause is, how to identify it hidden deep within the complex legal jargon of a commercial lease agreement, and the exact non-negotiable tactics you must use to strike it from the contract before you ever sign your name and provide a personal guarantee. That toxic legal landmine is formally known as the Uncapped Environmental Indemnification Agreement, and it is almost always aggressively paired with a complete waiver of baseline condition. To understand why this specific combination of legal phrasing is so devastating, you must first understand how commercial landlords view automotive repair facilities. They view them as massive, high-risk environmental liabilities. Historically, automotive shops generate thousands of gallons of hazardous waste, including synthetic motor oils, ethylene glycol coolants, heavy metal brake dust, and highly volatile aerosolized solvents. When you sign a standard, boilerplate commercial lease drafted by the landlord's attorney, buried deep within the insurance and liability section will be a clause stating that you, the tenant, agree to completely indemnify and hold the landlord harmless for any and all environmental contamination found on the property during or after your tenancy. If you sign this document without establishing a legally binding environmental baseline, you are adopting the ghosts of every single mechanic who ever turned a wrench in that building before you. Imagine if you lease a phenomenal 4-bay facility in Columbus, Ohio. It has been an operating auto repair shop since the late 1980s. You sign the boilerplate lease in early 2026, paint the walls, install your diagnostic terminals, and open for business. 8 months later, the Municipal Water Authority conducts a routine commercial soil test and discovers a massive subterranean plume of degraded hydraulic fluid. This contamination stems from a set of underground, single-post hydraulic lifts that a previous tenant removed and hastily paved over in 1998. Because you signed an uncapped indemnification clause without establishing a baseline of the soil condition prior to taking occupancy, The local Environmental Protection Agency will legally view you as the current operator and hold you strictly liable for the entire remediation process. Historical trends show that commercial soil remediation for petroleum hydrocarbons can easily exceed $400,000. Your business will be immediately shuttered, and your personal assets will be liquidated to pay for the cleanup of a catastrophic mess you did not create. The only viable defense against this financial catastrophe is a non-negotiable demand for a Phase 1 environmental site assessment before the lease is ever finalized. You must hire an independent, certified environmental engineering firm to conduct a comprehensive historical review of the property, inspect the integrity of all subterranean oil-water separators connected to the floor drains, and if necessary, execute a Phase 2 assessment involving actual soil borings. This assessment creates a definitive, legally admissible snapshot of the exact environmental condition of the property on the day you take possession. You then instruct your commercial real estate attorney to aggressively modify the indemnification clause, strictly limiting your liability only to new contamination that is explicitly proven to have occurred during your specific lease term. If a landlord vehemently refuses to allow a Phase 1 assessment or refuses to modify the baseline clause, you must walk away immediately. That refusal is a blazing red flag that they are highly aware of existing legacy contamination and are actively searching for an uneducated tenant to absorb the catastrophic financial liability. Once you have successfully navigated the environmental legalities, you face the next massive barrier to entry, which is municipal zoning overlays and the parking ratio matrix. In the economic climate of 2026, heavily populated suburban municipalities are actively hostile toward new automotive repair facilities. City planners heavily favor aesthetic, high-density mixed-use retail or light commercial office spaces. They actively restrict heavy automotive zoning to isolated industrial parks on the extreme outskirts of town. If you find a perfectly sized warehouse in a highly visible retail corridor, you cannot simply assume you can pull a business license and open a repair shop. You must scrutinize the exact zoning classification. If the building is zoned for light commercial warehouse use, attempting to secure a change of use permit to heavy automotive repair will instantly trigger a massive, uncompromising review by the Municipal Planning Board. This review process often activates the deadliest trap in commercial real estate, which is the municipal parking ratio requirement. Let us examine a deeply unfortunate but highly common case study. Consider an entrepreneur named Michael who decided to open a specialized suspension and alignment shop in Phoenix, Arizona. He found a beautiful standalone 6-bay commercial building that was previously used as a wholesale plumbing supply warehouse. The monthly rent was incredibly aggressive, so Michael immediately signed a 5-year binding lease. When he went to the local municipality to apply for his certificate of occupancy, the city planners applied the heavy automotive parking matrix to his new business model. The municipal code required exactly 4 dedicated, fully striped customer parking spaces for every single active service bay, plus 1 dedicated handicap accessible space, plus 2 spaces for employee parking. Michael had 6 service bays, meaning the city legally required a minimum of 27 dedicated parking spaces. The physical asphalt lot surrounding his leased building only had the capacity for 14 cars. The city categorically denied his certificate of occupancy because Michael had already signed a binding commercial lease without adding a contingency clause explicitly tying the lease validity to the successful acquisition of all necessary municipal permits. He was legally obligated to pay 5 years of commercial rent on a building he was strictly forbidden from operating out of. You must proactively map out the parking logistics before committing capital. You must calculate the daily flow of metal through your property. A highly successful repair shop is essentially a complex logistics hub. You have disabled vehicles arriving constantly via flatbed tow trucks, requiring a massive turning radius and a dedicated drop zone that does not block the main thoroughfare. You have daily wholesale parts delivery trucks needing temporary loading zones. You have completed vehicles waiting for customer pickup. And you have long-term diagnostic vehicles waiting on backordered microchips or complex subassemblies. If your ingress and egress are highly restricted, or if your lot forces your technicians to play an endless, exhausting game of musical cars just to pull a vehicle into a service bay, your operational efficiency will plummet. Every single minute a highly paid master technician spends moving cars around a congested parking lot is a minute of unbilled labor that permanently destroys your daily gross profit margin. Now assume you have successfully secured the perfect facility. Your environmental baseline is legally bulletproof. Your zoning permits are completely approved, and your parking ratios comfortably exceed municipal requirements. You are now staring at an empty concrete box. The next immediate step is outfitting this facility with the capital equipment required to diagnose and repair modern, highly complex vehicles. This is the exact moment where eager, newly minted business owners make a catastrophic financial miscalculation that severely cripples their cash flow for the next decade. They invite the major corporate tool truck franchises into their empty bays and proceed to finance hundreds of thousands of dollars in brand new, rapidly depreciating capital equipment at exorbitant interest rates. You must understand the harsh mathematical reality of equipment acquisition and the strategic secondary market blueprint that elite operators use to fully equip their facilities for pennies on the dollar, while avoiding the suffocating debt trap of the bright, shiny tool truck. The allure of the franchise tool truck is a psychological masterpiece designed specifically to capture ambitious, technically minded individuals. When you are staring at a completely empty 5-bay commercial garage, the anxiety of getting operational is overwhelming. Suddenly, a pristine, climate-controlled mobile showroom pulls into your newly leased parking lot. The representative offers to completely outfit your entire facility today. They will supply the 10,000-pound asymmetrical two-post lifts, the state-of-the-art laser alignment rack, the highly complex computerized wheel balancer, and the dual refrigerant air conditioning recovery machines required for modern climate control systems. You do not need a massive cash down payment to secure these assets. You only need a personal signature and a legally binding commitment to a weekly automatic bank draft. This is the exact moment where the mathematical reality of your 2026 business plan is either solidified or completely destroyed. Let us break down the exact financial anatomy of this transaction. If you finance $150,000 of brand new, premium branded heavy capital equipment through a tool manufacturer's captive financing division, you are not securing a traditional commercial banking rate. You are often agreeing to effectively unsecured, high-risk equipment leasing terms that can carry an annualized percentage rate, easily exceeding 15 to 18%. Over a 60-month term, that weekly payment becomes a relentless, unyielding anchor around the neck of your operational cash flow. If your car count drops during the traditionally slow automotive months of February or October, the equipment payment does not pause. You are suddenly forced to make desperate operational decisions, taking on unprofitable, highly aggravating work simply to feed the debt machine. Furthermore, heavy automotive equipment is not an appreciating asset. The absolute second that a brand new tire mounting machine is bolted to your concrete floor and scrapes its first set of alloy wheels, it instantly loses 30 to 40% of its commercial resale value. Imagine if a brilliant diagnostician named Robert opens a shop in Denver, Colorado. Robert wants his shop to look like a pristine Formula One pit lane. He finances top-tier, brand-new equipment across the board, rationalizing that the best tools will automatically attract the best customers. His monthly equipment debt service alone equates to $4,500. Before Robert even pays his commercial rent, his heavy garage liability insurance, his local utilities, or a single master technician's payroll, he has to generate nearly $15,000 in gross sales just to cover the profit margin required to pay the tool truck. Robert has severely handicapped his business before he has even successfully diagnosed a single vehicle. He is trapped in a cycle of high-volume, low-margin repairs just to maintain his weekly obligations. Now consider a case study of a highly strategic operator named Sarah, who opened a specialized light truck and SUV facility in Charlotte, North Carolina in early 2026. Sarah completely banned the corporate tool trucks from outfitting her heavy bays. Instead, she utilized the secondary commercial market blueprint. The automotive industry is historically highly volatile. Every single month across the United States, hundreds of corporate dealerships undergo massive facility renovations forced by their parent manufacturers, and hundreds of independent shops quietly liquidate their assets due to the exact mismanagement traps we have discussed. Sarah spent 4 intense weeks aggressively monitoring specialized commercial auction platforms, regional bankruptcy liquidations, and heavy equipment brokers. Sarah needed a premium, computerized laser alignment system and a dedicated advanced driver assistance systems, or ADAS, dynamic calibration target matrix to handle modern suspension geometry and safety camera resets. Purchasing this exact package brand new would require a massive capital expenditure of roughly $85,000. Instead, Sarah located a 3-year-old system from a liquidated high-volume dealership just 3 states over. The dealership was required by their manufacturer to upgrade their bay aesthetics, meaning the perfectly functional alignment machine was pushed out the back door to a liquidator. Sarah acquired the entire system at auction for $22,000. She then paid a certified independent equipment technician $2,500 to transport the machine, rigidly install it, meticulously calibrate the optical sensors, and immediately update the internal software to the latest 2026 vehicle database. She achieved the exact same operational capability, the exact same diagnostic accuracy, and the exact same labor billing potential for under $25,000 instead of $85,000. She repeated this exact methodical process for her heavy-duty rotary lifts, her specialized fluid exchange machines, and her industrial rotary screw air compressor. When acquiring the physical vehicle lifts, Sarah understood the extreme safety liability involved. She did not just buy the cheapest used metal available. She paid independent structural engineers to inspect the carriage blocks, the hydraulic cylinders, and the heavy-duty lifting cables of the used units before purchase. She then purchased brand new heavy-duty concrete anchor bolts to ensure the installation met the strictest structural standards. By executing this calculated secondary market strategy, Sarah fully equipped a robust, 6-bay facility for under $70,000 in total capital expenditure, which she paid for in cash from her initial startup capitalization. She has zero weekly equipment debt. Her monthly break-even point is phenomenally low. When the slow season hits, Sarah feels absolutely zero financial panic. Because her overhead is artificially compressed, she can afford to be highly selective with the jobs she takes in, maintaining her premium average repair order while her competitors are forced to take on low-margin brake jobs just to make their Friday financing payments. Historical trends clearly indicate that commercial repair shops launching with low initial equipment debt burdens have a significantly higher survival rate through their first 36 months. There is, however, one very specific, critical exception to the secondary market rule. You cannot compromise or cut corners on your primary diagnostic software interfaces. While you can absolutely buy a used physical steel lift or a used transmission jack, you must purchase the software licensing and the interface hardware for your primary diagnostic platforms directly from the manufacturer or their authorized commercial distributors. The cybersecurity firewalls and gateway modules implemented by modern automotive manufacturers in 2026 are incredibly aggressive. If you attempt to use cloned, pirated, or gray market diagnostic scan tools, you run the severe risk of permanently corrupting a client's vehicle control module. Potential outcomes of using unauthorized diagnostic software include catastrophic legal liability claims and the immediate termination of your commercial garage keeper's insurance policy. You must allocate premium, untouchable capital for your information systems, your factory service data subscriptions, and your secure gateway access portals. This is the intellectual property that actually allows you to fix the cars. You have now secured the optimal commercial facility, legally insulated your personal assets from legacy environmental contamination, and fully equipped your service bays using a mathematically sound secondary market acquisition strategy. Your physical infrastructure is completely dialed in and prepared for heavy volume. However, physical infrastructure does absolutely nothing if you do not have the invisible mathematical engine running perfectly in the background. The bays are ready, the technicians are armed with the correct data, but how do you actually price your services to guarantee the survival of your enterprise? There is a highly specific, closely guarded industry formula for calculating your true effective labor rate and structuring your progressive parts pricing matrix. If you rely on the dangerously outdated method of simply matching the hourly rate of the shop down the street, or applying a flat, generic percentage markup to your brake rotors and alternators, you will rapidly bleed cash despite having a completely full parking lot. You must learn the exact financial algorithm that elite shops use to extract maximum gross profit from every single repair order, and exactly how a seemingly minor $10 miscalculation at the service desk can cascade into a $100,000 annual loss. To understand how a $10 miscalculation destroys a business, you must first completely abandon the concept of the posted labor rate. The number you paint on your waiting room wall or print in bold letters on your intake forms is nothing more than a vanity metric. The only mathematical figure that dictates the survival of your automotive repair facility in 2026 is your effective labor rate. Your effective labor rate is calculated by taking the total actual dollars of labor you collect in a given week and dividing it by the total number of hours your technicians are physically clocked in and standing inside your building. The vast majority of failing shop owners do not understand this fundamental difference, and they base their entire financial reality on a delusion. Imagine if a highly skilled operator named Thomas opens a completely renovated 3-bay shop in Chicago, Illinois. Thomas sets his posted labor rate at $190 an hour, which is highly competitive for his specific metropolitan market. He feels incredibly confident. He employs 2 full-time technicians, each clocking 40 hours a week. That gives Thomas a total weekly inventory of 80 available hours to sell to the public. If his technicians were operating at a perfectly optimal 100% efficiency, Thomas would theoretically bill and collect $15,200 in gross labor revenue every single week. However, Thomas does not meticulously track unbilled diagnostic time. He allows his technicians to perform complex, 45-minute courtesy multi-point digital inspections entirely for free. When a customer complains about a squeak, Thomas often comps half an hour of labor to appease them and build goodwill. He routinely underbills heavily rusted suspension jobs because he feels guilty charging the client for the 3 hours his technician spent heating and extracting broken bolts. At the end of the week, despite his technicians sweating in the bays for a combined 80 hours, Thomas only generates invoices for 44 actual billed hours. His collected gross labor revenue is $8,360. When you divide that collected revenue by the 80 hours he actually paid his technicians to be there, his true effective labor rate plummets to $104.50. Thomas is not operating a $190 an hour shop. He is operating a $104 shop, but he is paying his massive commercial lease, his heavy liability insurance, and his high-interest equipment loans based on the fantasy of the higher number. This mathematically guarantees operational failure, and it happens every single day across the United States. To bridge this massive gap, elite business owners strictly enforce diagnostic billing. Historical trends overwhelmingly demonstrate that shops that successfully charge a mandatory, non-negotiable testing and teardown fee for every single vehicle that enters a service bay increase their net profit margins by up to 15%. You are not selling manual labor. You are selling highly specialized intellectual property. When a 2022 vehicle presents with a sporadic communication network failure, your master technician is essentially acting as a forensic computer scientist. You must charge appropriately for that intense cognitive effort. But optimizing your effective labor rate is only half of the gross profit equation. The other half is your parts margin strategy. The most common and catastrophic mistake amateur shop owners make is applying a linear, flat percentage markup to every single component they purchase. They buy a water pump for $100 and mark it up 50%, selling it for $150. They buy a rebuilt alternator for $200 and sell it for $300. This linear markup strategy is a massive failure in the modern economic landscape because it completely ignores consumer psychology and the logistical realities of running a highly complex inventory system. Instead, you must implement a strict progressive parts pricing matrix. A progressive matrix applies a sliding scale of markup percentages based entirely on the wholesale cost of the component. Let us examine a highly optimized 2026 progressive matrix used by top-tier facilities. For any individual component costing your business between $1 and $50, such as generic hardware, specialty retaining clips, light bulbs, or bulk synthetic fluids, you must apply a minimum markup of 300%. A $10 premium oil filter is automatically sold to the client for $40. This aggressive multiplier covers the intense logistical cost of your service advisor ordering, receiving, verifying, and stocking low-value items that frequently get lost or damaged. Consumers rarely price shop small, obscure components, and you must maximize your yield on these daily consumables. As the wholesale cost of the part increases, your percentage multiplier mathematically decreases, but your absolute gross dollar amount retained continues to climb steadily. For mid-tier parts costing between $50 and $150, like standard brake pads, serpentine belts, or ignition coils, you apply a 150% markup. A $70 set of premium ceramic brake pads is seamlessly billed at $175. For high-ticket items costing over $500, such as a factory original equipment engine control module or an entire steering rack assembly, you lower your markup to 40 or 50%. If you purchase a complex subassembly for $800, you sell it for $1,120. This specific progressive structure allows you to remain highly competitive on massive, easily searchable high-ticket repairs, while systematically maximizing your absolute profit yield on everyday maintenance consumables. If your shop management software is not currently programmed to automatically calculate this sliding scale the exact second a part is added to an estimate, your service advisors are leaving thousands of dollars of pure profit on the service desk every single month. Furthermore, you must meticulously account for environmental disposal and shop supplies. Modern auto repair requires massive amounts of consumable chemicals, including chlorinated brake cleaner, penetrating lubricants, dielectric grease, silicone sealants, and highly specialized wiping racks. Additionally, you are legally responsible for paying specialized hazardous waste logistics companies to pump out your subterranean oil-water separators and securely dispose of your waste coolant. Elite operators implement a legally compliant shop supplies fee, strictly capped at a specific percentage of the total labor charged on the invoice, usually ranging from 8 to 10%, to directly recover these hidden operational costs. If you are absorbing the cost of chemical consumables and environmental disposal into your general overhead, you are heavily subsidizing your client's vehicle maintenance with your own personal wealth. By aggressively bridging the gap between your posted and effective labor rate, and by implementing an uncompromising progressive parts pricing matrix, you establish the foundation for a highly profitable enterprise. The industry standard benchmark you must absolutely demand from your operation is a minimum of 60% overall gross profit. That means your parts and labor combined must yield 60 cents on every single dollar collected before you pay a single fixed monthly expense. If your overall gross profit falls below 50%, historical data indicates a severe probability of total business insolvency within 18 to 24 months, regardless of how many cars are parked in your lot. Now you have your effective labor rate mathematically dialed in, your progressive parts matrix is actively generating a 60% gross margin, and your facility is a well-oiled financial machine. But all of this flawless mathematical modeling and beautiful facility planning is completely useless if you cannot find, hire, and retain the actual human beings required to execute the repairs. In 2026, the United States is facing the most severe, crippling automotive technician shortage in recorded history. The traditional flat-rate pay system is effectively dead, and if you try to offer an elite master diagnostician a standard 40-hour paycheck based on outdated flat-rate manuals, they will laugh at you and walk straight into your competitor's shop. You must completely restructure your compensation packages using a hybrid hourly plus efficiency model. And there is one specific, highly psychological bonus structure that elite operators are currently using to poach top-tier talent directly from corporate dealerships without destroying their own payroll ratios. The traditional flat-rate pay system, which has governed the United States automotive industry for over 50 years, is systematically collapsing in the year 2026. Under the old flat-rate model, a technician is paid strictly by the billed hour. If the industry labor guide says a water pump replacement takes 3 hours, the technician receives 3 hours of pay regardless of whether it takes them 2 hours or 5. In a world of simple mechanical linkages, this worked. But in 2026, where a simple bumper replacement requires 3 hours of complex ADAS radar recalibration and software handshaking, the flat-rate system has become a primary driver of technician burnout and industry-wide labor shortages. Top-tier master technicians are no longer willing to gamble their weekly mortgage payments on whether or not a vehicle software module decides to communicate with the factory server. To build a resilient high-performance team, you must implement the hybrid performance compensation model. This model provides the financial security of a guaranteed base salary while maintaining the high production incentives of the traditional flat-rate system. Let us examine a specific case study of a shop owner named Jennifer, who operates a high-volume diagnostic center in Nashville, Tennessee. Jennifer struggled for 18 months to find a lead diagnostic technician. She posted ads offering $50 an hour flat rate, but she received 0 qualified applicants. Why? Because elite technicians knew that if the shop had a slow week or a series of complex electrical ghosts that were hard to bill, their paycheck would vanish. Jennifer pivoted to the hybrid model. She offered a guaranteed base hourly rate of $40 for every hour the technician was physically present in the building, regardless of the car count. However, she added a tiered production multiplier. For every flagged hour the technician billed over 30 hours in a week, their rate for those specific hours jumped to $60. If they exceeded 45 flagged hours, the rate for those premium hours jumped to $75. This creates a psychological floor of security and a high-performance ceiling of uncapped earnings. Potential outcomes of this specific shift in compensation include a 40% reduction in technician turnover and a massive increase in shop morale. Technicians stop viewing difficult, unbillable diagnostic problems as a personal financial threat and start viewing them as a challenge to be conquered so they can get back to high-margin production work. However, attracting elite talent in 2026 requires more than just a competitive paycheck. You are competing against massive corporate entities that offer comprehensive benefits packages. To win this war for talent, your independent business plan must include a structured benefit and retention strategy that goes beyond the basics. This includes a tiered health insurance subsidy, a 401k matching program with immediate vesting, and most importantly, a dedicated tool and training stipend. Consider the financial reality of a modern technician. A master technician in the United States often carries a personal tool inventory valued between $50,000 and $100,000. In 2026, they must also constantly purchase specialized electronic testing equipment and attend expensive multi-day training seminars just to keep up with the rapid evolution of hybrid and electric vehicle propulsion systems. Elite shop owners like Jennifer in Nashville offer a $500 monthly tool and training credit. This is not a direct cash payment. It is a dedicated fund the shop pays into. The technician can use these funds to upgrade their personal diagnostic equipment or pay for specialized ASE certifications. This strategy creates a massive psychological barrier to the technician leaving. If they move to a competitor, they lose their accumulated training credits and their monthly equipment subsidy. Historically, this has proven to be one of the most effective long-term retention tools in the industry. Furthermore, you must meticulously manage your labor gross profit margin. In the automotive world, your labor is your most perishable inventory. Every hour a bay sits empty or a technician sits idle is an hour of revenue that is permanently lost and can never be recovered. To maintain a healthy business, your total payroll for the technicians and service advisors must never exceed 30% of your total gross sales. If your labor cost creeps up to 40 or 50% of your gross revenue, you are effectively running a nonprofit organization for the benefit of your employees. You must balance high technician pay with high technician productivity. This brings us to the critical role of the service advisor. In many failing shops, the owner tries to be the lead technician and the service advisor simultaneously. This is a recipe for catastrophic failure. A service advisor is not a secretary. They are a high-level sales professional and a logistics coordinator. They are the filter between the technical reality of the shop floor and the emotional reality of the customer in the waiting room. A great service advisor knows how to present a $3,000 repair estimate for a leaking head gasket, not as a financial disaster, but as a strategic investment in the longevity of the vehicle. They understand the psychology of the repair order. Imagine a scenario where a customer named David brings in his 2018 Ford F-150 because the check engine light is on. A poor service advisor calls David and says it needs a catalytic converter, it's going to be $2,000. David immediately feels defensive and seeks a second opinion. A highly trained service advisor, working within a structured 2026 business plan, uses a digital vehicle inspection, or DVI. They send a comprehensive text message to David's phone containing high-resolution photos of the failed component, a video of the technician performing a back pressure test, and a clear, color-coded report showing which items are urgent and which can wait 6 months. When the service advisor calls David, they lead with the digital evidence. Case studies show that shops utilizing comprehensive digital vehicle inspections see a 25 to 35% increase in their average repair order, because customers feel empowered by data rather than pressured by a salesperson. Your service advisor must also be compensated on a performance-based model. A base salary combined with a small percentage of the total gross profit of the shop ensures their goals are perfectly aligned with yours. If the shop is profitable and the customers are satisfied, the service advisor thrives. This creates a culture of extreme ownership. But even with the best technicians, the most talented service advisors, and a flawless compensation model, your shop will still fail if you do not master the art of digital inventory management and just-in-time parts logistics. In 2026, the cost of capital is too high to let parts sit on a shelf for months. You must understand the intricate dance of the wholesale supply chain. You need to know how to leverage multiple vendors to ensure that a vehicle never occupies a lift for more than 4 hours while waiting for a $10 gasket. The logistics of parts procurement are the silent killer of shop efficiency. If your technician has to stop work 3 times on one car because the wrong parts arrived or the service advisor forgot to order a specialized one-time use torque-to-yield bolt, your labor gross profit is being incinerated in real time. You need a system that tracks every nut, bolt, and liter of fluid with surgical precision. But there is a deeper, more complex layer to this logistics puzzle. As we move deeper into 2026, the rise of the connected vehicle and over-the-air updates means that your parts department is no longer just dealing with physical metal. You are dealing with digital licenses and software tokens. If you don't know how to navigate the new world of digital parts and software-as-a-service repair modules, your shop will be technically obsolete before the end of the year. We are about to dive into the exact infrastructure you need to handle the digital side of the 2026 vehicle. The digital architecture of a 2026 vehicle is no longer an auxiliary system. It is the primary nervous system that dictates whether a physical repair is even possible. For decades, a mechanic's job ended when the last bolt was torqued to specification. In the current landscape, that is only the halfway point. If you replace a steering rack, a headlight assembly, or even a battery on a modern United States domestic or European import, the vehicle will likely remain in a limp home mode or refuse to recognize the new component until a software handshake is performed. This process, known as component programming or initialization, requires a robust digital infrastructure that most independent shops completely lack. If your business plan does not include a high-speed, dedicated fiber optic internet backbone and a secure, isolated Wi-Fi network for the shop floor, you are effectively building a horse and buggy shop in a jet engine world. Imagine a technician named Carlos working in a high-end independent shop in Seattle. Carlos finishes a complex transmission swap on a 2025 hybrid SUV. Under old-school logic, the job is done. However, this vehicle requires a massive software download, nearly 4 gigabytes of data, to synchronize the new transmission control module with the hybrid drive inverter. If Carlos is relying on a standard residential-grade internet connection shared with the front office's Spotify and the customer waiting room's Netflix, that download might take 2 hours and could fail midway due to a signal jitter. A failed flash can result in a bricked control module, turning a profitable repair into a $5,000 liability. Case studies from early 2026 highlight that shops with dedicated, synchronous fiber connections and professional-grade routers with built-in power redundancy have a 98% success rate in module flashing, compared to just 65% for shops using standard consumer-grade setups. Furthermore, you must account for the rise of the secure gateway. Manufacturers like Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors have implemented rigorous cybersecurity protocols that block aftermarket scan tools from performing bidirectional tests or clearing codes, unless the shop has a registered, authenticated account with the National Automotive Service Task Force, or NASTF. Your business plan must include the administrative overhead of managing these digital credentials. Each of your lead technicians should be assisted in obtaining their Vehicle Security Professional, or VSP, credentials. This is not just a luxury. It is the only legal way to access immobilizer data, program keys, and reset security-related modules. If you have to call a mobile programmer every time a car needs a software reset, you are losing $200 to $400 of gross profit per vehicle. By bringing this digital capability in-house, you transform a cost center into a high-margin revenue stream. But the digital evolution goes beyond just fixing the car. It extends to how you manage the parts that go into it. In 2026, the most successful shops are utilizing just-in-time logistics powered by integrated parts procurement software. The days of having a back room filled with dusty radiators and assorted fan belts are over. Modern inventory is expensive and depreciates the moment a newer revision is released. Instead, your shop management system must be digitally tethered to your primary and secondary wholesale vendors. When a service advisor like the one we discussed in Nashville builds an estimate, the software should perform a real-time scrap of every local warehouse. Consider this scenario. A technician pulls a vehicle onto the lift at 9 in the morning. By 9:15, the digital vehicle inspection is complete, and the service advisor has an estimate ready. Through integrated procurement, the system identifies that the required high-pressure fuel pump is not at the closest hub, but is at a satellite warehouse 20 miles away. The system automatically triggers a hotshot delivery before the customer even approves the work, or it secures the part the moment the digital signature is captured on the customer's smartphone. Historical trends show that shops using integrated, automated parts ordering reduce their bay cycle time, the time a car occupies a lift, by an average of 40 minutes per repair. In a 5-bay shop, that equates to over 3 hours of reclaimed bay time every single day. That is the equivalent of adding an entire extra service bay to your building without paying a cent more in rent. However, there is a physical component to this digital world that many ignore: the cleanliness and climate of the shop floor. In 2026, you are not just a grease monkey, you are a laboratory technician. Sensitive diagnostic tablets, expensive ADAS calibration targets, and high-voltage EV battery balancing equipment do not survive well in a 100-degree shop with high humidity and airborne oil mist. Your business plan must prioritize high-efficiency HVAC and industrial-grade air filtration for the service bays. While this increases your initial build-out cost, the potential outcomes include a massive extension of the life of your electronic diagnostic tools and a significant reduction in technician fatigue. A comfortable technician is a focused technician, and a focused technician makes fewer $3,000 mistakes on a vehicle's wiring harness. You also need to budget for the 2026 reality of software as a service, or SaaS, expenses. Between your shop management system, your digital vehicle inspection platform, your labor guide subscriptions like AllData or Mitchell One, and your factory-specific portals like ODIS for Volkswagen or ISTA for BMW, your monthly digital overhead can easily reach $2,000 to $3,000. This must be a fixed line item in your monthly budget, treated with the same urgency as your electric bill. If your subscriptions lapse, your shop stops. Let's look at a case study of a shop in Miami that failed in late 2025. They had great technicians and a prime location. However, the owner refused to pay for the premium tier of his shop management software, opting for a legacy paper-based system to save $500 a month. Because he had no digital record of his parts margins, no automated follow-up for declined services, and no way to send digital inspections to customers, his average repair order stayed stagnant at $400 while his competitors rose to $900. He was working twice as hard for half the money because he lacked the digital leverage to scale. Digital leverage also allows you to master the most misunderstood part of the automotive business: the tire and wheel profit center. Many independent shops avoid tires because the margins are slim, but in 2026, tires are the ultimate hook for customer retention. With the increased weight of electric vehicles and the high torque of modern turbocharged engines, vehicles are wearing through tires faster than ever. If you have the digital equipment to perform high-speed road force balancing and precision alignments, you become the one-stop shop for the customer. You don't make the big money on the rubber. You make it on the four-wheel alignment and the suspension components you find while the wheels are off. Now, your shop is technically elite. You have the fiber optic backbone, the authenticated security credentials, the climate-controlled bays, and the integrated parts logistics to run circles around the dealership. You are ready to process high volumes of complex vehicles with surgical efficiency. But there is a silent predator waiting to destroy all of this progress. It isn't a mechanical failure or a software glitch. It is the complex, often predatory world of merchant services and credit card processing fees. In an industry with high-ticket repairs, you are often swiping cards for $5,000, $8,000, or even $10,000 at a time. If you do not know how to structure your payment processing and implement a legally compliant cash discount or surcharging program, you are effectively handing over 2 to 3% of your total gross revenue to the banks for absolutely nothing in return. We are about to break down the specific financial engineering you need to protect your margins at the point of sale. In the hyper-technical landscape of 2026, it is easy to become obsessed with the engineering of the vehicle and the logistics of the parts department. But if you do not understand the engineering of your financial transactions, you are essentially pouring high-octane profit directly down the floor drain. Every time a customer swipes a premium rewards credit card to pay for a $4,000 transmission overhaul, an invisible network of banks, processors, and card brands takes a significant cut of your gross revenue. In 2026, the average small business in the United States is paying an effective processing rate between 2.5% and 3.5%. For a high-volume independent shop generating $2 million in annual gross sales, that equates to $70,000 a year in pure profit, simply vanishing before it ever hits your business bank account. Historically, shop owners have viewed these merchant service fees as an unavoidable cost of doing business. That perspective is a catastrophic error that will severely limit your potential outcomes. To master your point-of-sale economics, you must first deconstruct the three-tier architecture of a credit card transaction: interchange fees, assessment fees, and the processor markup. The interchange fee is the largest component, paid directly to the card-issuing bank to cover their risk and the cost of the customer's rewards programs. In 2026, premium travel and cashback rewards cards carry significantly higher interchange rates than basic consumer cards. The assessment fee is a non-negotiable sliver paid to the card network, like Visa or MasterCard. The processor markup is the only part of this equation that is truly negotiable. Many shops are stuck on outdated flat-rate pricing models, which may seem simple but often hide massive overcharges on low-risk, card-present transactions. Consider the case study of a shop owner named Mark who operates a successful 6-bay facility in Denver, Colorado. Mark was processing roughly $150,000 a month in credit card transactions. He was on a flat rate plan of 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. Mark believed he was getting a fair deal because of the simplicity. However, upon a deep dive audit of his merchant statements, it was revealed that over 60% of his transactions were actually debit cards. Because of the Durbin Amendment, the interchange fees on debit cards are legally capped at a much lower rate than credit cards. By staying on a flat rate plan, Mark was effectively paying a premium credit card rate for every single debit transaction. By switching to an interchange plus pricing model, Mark reduced his effective rate to 2.1%. This seemingly minor shift of 0.8% resulted in an immediate $14,400 increase in his annual net profit. However, the most powerful tool in your 2026 business plan is the implementation of a legally compliant dual pricing or surcharging program. As of early 2026, the legal landscape surrounding credit card surcharges has shifted dramatically. While a small handful of states like Connecticut and Massachusetts still maintain strict restrictions on surcharging, the vast majority of the United States now allows merchants to pass the cost of credit card acceptance directly to the consumer, provided specific disclosure requirements are met. You must distinguish between a cash discount and a surcharge. A cash discount is when you display a higher price and offer a reduction for cash or debit. A surcharge is when you add a fee on top of the advertised price for credit card users. Imagine a scenario where a customer named Jessica receives an estimate for a $1,200 brake and rotor replacement. Under a dual pricing model, Jessica is presented with two clear options on her digital invoice: a cash or debit price of $1,200 or a credit card price of $1,248. The difference of 4% covers your entire processing cost, the equipment fees, and the software licensing. While some shop owners fear that this will alienate customers, historical trends in 2026 show that consumers are increasingly accustomed to this model in everything from government utilities to high-end restaurants. When presented with transparency and the choice to save money by using a no-cost payment method like a digital ACH transfer or a debit card, over 70% of customers choose the lower-cost option. For the 30% who insist on using their rewards cards for the points, they are now the ones funding those points, not your business's bottom line. If you choose to implement surcharging, you must adhere to the strict 2026 disclosure protocols. In states like New York and California, you are legally required to display the total credit card price as the primary price, rather than just a percentage at the register. You must have clear signage at your point of entry and at the service desk, and your merchant processor must be registered with the card brands at least 30 days before you begin. Failure to comply with these transparency laws can lead to severe municipal fines that would quickly erase any savings gained from the program. Furthermore, if your business plan focuses on fleet accounts or B2B commercial repair, you must optimize for Level 2 and Level 3 data processing. Commercial fleet cards often carry high interchange rates, but these rates can be significantly reduced if you provide extra data at the point of sale, such as sales tax amounts, customer accounting codes, and line item part details. Most standard automotive POS systems do not automatically transmit this data. By utilizing a specialized automotive merchant gateway that automates Level 3 data transmission, you can lower your B2B processing costs by up to 1 full percentage point. For a shop servicing a local delivery fleet or a municipal contract, this is a massive competitive advantage. But perhaps the most significant financial shift in 2026 is the integration of consumer financing directly into the service bay. As the average repair order climbs due to parts inflation and technical complexity, many customers simply do not have the liquid cash or available credit on their traditional cards to cover a $3,000 engine repair. If you do not offer specialized automotive financing, you will face a high rate of declined services. Integrated financing platforms allow your service advisor to send a secure link to the customer's phone during the estimate process. The customer can be approved in seconds for a 6-month or 12-month interest-free payment plan. From your perspective as the shop owner, you receive the full amount of the repair order, minus a small merchant fee, within 24 to 48 hours. You take zero risk on the collections or the credit. This is not just a payment method. It is a sales tool that allows you to close high-ticket repairs that would otherwise sit in your parking lot as abandoned vehicles. By re-engineering your merchant services, implementing a compliant dual pricing strategy, and integrating point-of-sale financing, You have effectively armored your profit margins against the silent erosion of bank fees. Your facility is optimized, your technicians are highly compensated specialists, and your financial transactions are producing maximum yield. You have built a fortress of a business. But even a fortress needs a constant stream of new citizens to remain viable. In the final phases of our 2026 business plan, we move from the internal operations to the external world of high-velocity customer acquisition. The traditional methods of buying a few Google ads and hoping for the best are dead in the age of generative search and hyperlocal algorithmic targeting. You need to know how to turn your shop into a content-generating machine that dominates your specific geographical radius without spending a fortune on traditional advertising. We are about to look at the exact digital marketing framework that creates a 6-month waiting list for your service base. In the hyper-competitive landscape of 2026, the traditional marketing funnel for automotive repair has been completely inverted. For decades, the industry relied on the reactive model. A car breaks down, the owner feels a surge of panic, they perform a frantic Google search, and they click on the first sponsored ad that appears. This model is incredibly expensive and inherently unstable, because you are constantly bidding against massive national franchises with multi-million-dollar advertising budgets. In 2026, if you are paying $10 to $15 per click for a generic keyword like auto repair near me, you are engaged in a race to the bottom that will eventually cannibalize your net profit. The most successful independent shops have moved away from this transactional marketing and toward a model of authoritative community dominance. You must stop viewing yourself as a mechanic and start viewing your shop as a high-authority media entity that happens to fix cars. The core of this strategy is the shift from search engine optimization to generative engine optimization. In 2026, users are no longer just scrolling through a list of blue links. They are asking AI-driven assistants complex questions like, why is my 2022 Ford Explorer making a high-pitched whistling noise only when it is under 30 degrees outside? If your shop has not published the specific, data-rich content that answers that exact question, the AI will never recommend you. You must create a library of hyper-specific, localized technical content. This is not about generic blog posts like 5 tips for winter driving. It is about deep-dive technical case studies. Imagine a shop owner named Elena in Denver, Colorado. Elena's shop specializes in Subaru engine overhauls. Instead of spending $5,000 a month on Google Ads, Elena invested in a high-quality smartphone and a simple lapel microphone for her lead technician. Every time a vehicle comes in with a common systemic failure, like a specific head gasket leak or a faulty CVT solenoid, the technician spends 3 minutes filming the diagnostic process. They show the actual failure on the screen of the scan tool, they show the physical wear on the component, and they explain exactly why the repair is necessary. Elena then publishes these as short-form vertical videos across every social platform and embeds them into a dedicated knowledge base on her website. When a Subaru owner in Denver experiences that same symptom, they find Elena's video. She has already performed a successful diagnostic before they even call the shop. She is no longer a stranger competing on price. She is a trusted authority providing a solution. Potential outcomes of this content-first strategy include a near-zero customer acquisition cost and a closing rate on estimates that often exceeds 90%. Furthermore, you must master the mechanics of your Google business profile, which in 2026 has become the most important digital asset you own. It is no longer enough to just have a high star rating. The Google algorithm now prioritizes what it calls recency of evidence. If you have 500 reviews but the last one was from 3 months ago, your ranking will plummet in favor of a shop with only 50 reviews that receives 2 new ones every week. You must implement an automated feedback system that triggers a text message to the customer the moment their repair order is closed in your shop management system. This message should include a direct link to your review page. But here is the secret layer of the 2026 Google algorithm: the keywords within the reviews. If a customer simply says, "Great service," it does very little for your ranking. If a customer says, "Elena fixed the head gasket on my 2018 Subaru Outback and the price was fair," that review is a massive SEO signal. Your service advisor should be trained to verbally prime the customer for this. When handing back the keys, they should say, "If you feel we did a great job on your Subaru's head gasket, it would really help our small business if you mention the specific repair in a review." This isn't just vanity. It is the physical architecture of your digital visibility. Beyond digital content, you must understand the power of the hyperlocal partnership. In 2026, the most profitable shops are those that have built-in recurring revenue through local fleet and community alliances. Consider the case study of a shop in Austin, Texas, that targeted local real estate agencies. Real estate agents put massive mileage on their vehicles. They often drive high-end European or premium domestic SUVs to impress clients, and they cannot afford for their car to be out of commission. The shop owner offered a dedicated, VIP real estate maintenance program. This included prioritized scheduling, where an agent's car is always moved to the front of the diagnostic line, and a complimentary concierge shuttle service. By securing just 5 local agencies, the shop locked in a recurring volume of over 40 vehicles that never price shop and always follow the recommended maintenance schedule. You should identify these specific high-mileage micro-niches in your own zip code: delivery services, mobile pet groomers, or even local municipal vehicles that fall outside of major city contracts. Another critical component of your 2026 marketing strategy is the proactive use of your shop management data. Most shops use their customer database simply as a digital filing cabinet. Successful operators use it as a predictive revenue engine. If your data shows that a customer replaced their tires 2 years ago and has since driven 30,000 miles, your system should automatically trigger a personalized reminder for an alignment check and a tire rotation. This is not a generic mass email. It is a specific, data-driven notification that arrives right as the vehicle enters a predictable maintenance window. Historical trends show that these personalized, data-backed reminders have a 300% higher conversion rate than traditional coupon-based marketing. However, as you scale your marketing and your bays begin to fill months in advance, you will face the final and most difficult challenge of the 2026 business plan: the transition from an operator to an owner. Most shop owners remain trapped in the golden cage of their own business. They are the only ones who can talk to the difficult customers, the only ones who can diagnose the complex electrical issues, and the only ones who can manage the payroll. They haven't built a business, they have built a high-stress job for themselves. To truly succeed, you must build a system of standard operating procedures, the SOPs, that allow the business to function flawlessly without your physical presence. If you cannot take a 2-week vacation without your shop's productivity dropping or your net profit eroding, you do not have a business plan. You have a survival plan. We are about to conclude this masterclass by looking at the exact organizational structure and exit strategy mindset you need to implement on day 1. We will break down how to document every single process, from how the floor is swept to how a customer is greeted on the phone, to ensure that your brand remains consistent even as you scale to multiple locations or eventually prepare your business for a high-multiple private equity buyout. This is where you move from being a master of the machine to being a master of the enterprise. The transition from a high-performing technician to a successful enterprise owner is the most difficult psychological shift you will ever experience in the automotive industry. In the year 2026, the most significant threat to your business is not a competitor or a changing market. It is your own inability to delegate. Most independent shop owners in the United States suffer from what industry consultants call the superhero complex. They believe that they are the only ones who can perform a high-level diagnostic on a late-model electric vehicle, the only ones who can navigate a difficult customer negotiation, and the only ones who can accurately order parts for a complex engine rebuild. While this technical brilliance is what allowed you to start the business, it is precisely what will prevent you from scaling it. If the entire operational flow of your facility depends on your physical presence and your specific cognitive bandwidth, you have not built an asset. You have built a high-stakes, high-stress job that you cannot easily sell. To move from the bay to the boardroom, you must implement a comprehensive system of standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that define every single movement within your 4 walls. Imagine if a new service advisor named Brian joins your team in Phoenix, Arizona. On his first day, Brian should not be left to guess how to answer the phone or how to input a VIN into the shop management system. Instead, Brian is handed a digital tablet containing your shop's operational Bible. This document contains exact scripts for telephone greetings, a step-by-step checklist for the vehicle intake process, and a standardized protocol for presenting a digital vehicle inspection. Historical trends in the franchise world, from McDonald's to major national auto repair chains, show that the value of a business is not found in the skill of its workers, but in the consistency of its systems. When you eventually look for an exit or a private equity buyout, the buyers are looking for a turnkey machine that produces a predictable net profit regardless of who is standing at the front counter. Let us look at a specific case study of an owner named Samantha, who operated a specialized transmission shop in Charlotte, North Carolina. In early 2025, Samantha was working 80 hours a week. She was the lead diagnostician, the service manager, and the bookkeeper. Her shop was profitable, but she was on the verge of total physical and mental burnout. Samantha spent 6 months documenting every single repetitive task she performed. She created video SOPs for the technicians on how to properly document a teardown for insurance adjusters. She created a pricing matrix that the service advisor could follow without asking for her permission on every estimate. By late 2026, Samantha had successfully removed herself from the daily operations. She spent her time analyzing the weekly key performance indicators, the KPI dashboard, and looking for a second location. When a regional auto group approached her for a buyout, they offered a significantly higher multiple of her earnings because her shop functioned perfectly while she was on a 2-week vacation in Europe. Potential outcomes for owners who prioritize systemization over individual performance include higher resale values and the ability to scale to multiple geographic regions with minimal additional stress. A critical component of this ownership mindset is your relationship with your financial data. In 2026, you must move beyond just looking at your bank balance at the end of the month. You must become a master of the profit and loss statement. You need to understand the difference between your gross profit and your net operating income. Elite owners manage their business by the numbers, not by their gut feeling. You should be tracking your labor gross profit, your parts gross profit, and your total shop productivity on a daily basis. If your technician productivity, the ratio of hours worked to hours billed, drops below 85% for 3 consecutive days, you should already be investigating the bottleneck before the weekly payroll is even processed. This level of granular financial awareness is what allows you to make strategic investments in new technology or additional service bays without risking the stability of the enterprise. Furthermore, your business plan must account for the reality of the 2026 labor market through a structured apprenticeship and mentorship program. You cannot simply wait for a master technician to walk through your door. They are too rare and too expensive. You must build a pipeline. A successful shop in 2026 usually employs a tiered labor structure. 1 elite master lead, 2 mid-level B technicians, and 2 hungry, motivated apprentices. Your B technicians should be mentored by the master lead to handle complex diagnostics, while the apprentices handle the high-volume maintenance and basic mechanical repairs. This structure lowers your overall effective labor cost while ensuring that your technical knowledge is being passed down, creating long-term stability for the shop. If your lead technician leaves, you should already have someone trained and ready to step into that role. Finally, we must discuss the exit strategy. Even if you plan on running your shop for the next 30 years, you must build it as if you are going to sell it tomorrow. This means keeping your personal finances completely separate from the business, maintaining meticulous service records for every piece of capital equipment, and ensuring your commercial lease has a clear, favorable assignment clause. In the current economic climate of the United States, we are seeing a massive consolidation of the automotive repair market. Large-scale investment groups are aggressively seeking out high-performing, systemized independent shops to add to their portfolios. They are not interested in buying a shop where the owner is the main attraction. They want a business with a strong brand, a loyal customer base, and a repeatable operational framework. By building your shop with this end goal in mind, you are creating a legacy and a significant vehicle for personal wealth. The road to starting and operating a successful auto repair shop in 2026 is filled with technical and financial hurdles. From navigating the toxic clauses of a commercial lease and managing the complexities of environmental baseline assessments, to mastering the digital architecture of modern vehicles and implementing a progressive parts pricing matrix, the requirements for success have never been higher. However, for those who are willing to bridge the gap between technical expertise and business mastery, the opportunities are unprecedented. The vehicle fleet in the United States is older than it has ever been, and the demand for high-quality, specialized independent repair is at an all-time high. You are not just a mechanic, you are a vital part of the nation's infrastructure. By following this data-driven, systematic business plan, you are positioning yourself to thrive in an industry that is currently undergoing its most significant transformation in a century. You have the blueprint for the facility, the equipment acquisition strategy, the labor compensation model, the digital infrastructure, and the marketing framework. The only thing left is the execution. The 2026 market does not reward the fastest wrench turner. It rewards the most disciplined business operator. It is time to step out of the service bay and start building your enterprise. If you found this masterclass valuable, you will need to see exactly how we calculate the specific break-even points for a modern high-voltage EV diagnostic bay, which we will deconstruct in our upcoming deep dive on specialized shop equipment ROI. Your journey into the elite tier of automotive business ownership starts with the first piece of documentation you create today.